which MCU characters are going to survive the upcoming reboot after Avengers Secret Wars? This is a huge question right now because it's finally happening. The idea of a reboot within the MCU has been around forever. Fans complain all the time that the timeline is too convoluted and there's too much to keep up with, and I feel like we all knew some sort of a reboot was coming eventually, and now it's right around the corner. Kevin Feige officially announced that the MCU is headed towards a quote-unquote soft reboot, and we don't really know exactly what this means, but my guess is that the entire MCU up until now remains canon, so we're going to keep a lot of the actors and characters that we already have, but the stories that we've already told and the events that have already happened won't be terribly consequential moving forward. Basically, I'm guessing Kevin Feige wants to make post-Secret Wars a place where you can just jump into the MCU and be completely fine moving forward. And that's great. It makes the MCU very beginner-friendly. It'll help a lot of people who are just now tapping into the MCU. They won't have like 40 plus projects standing in their way. So all in all, I do think a reboot is a good thing. If anything, I would say it's maybe just a little bit too soon, but regardless of what I think, a reboot is coming fast. Now, with this reboot officially happening, I did want to talk about which characters are going to survive. And I don't mean which characters are going to survive Secret Wars, I mean which actors and characters will we be keeping in this new rebooted MCU. Because with the reboot, we will get new characters, but we're also going to lose old characters, whether they just get written out of the story or even recast. So we're just going to go through some of the main characters of the MCU today and try to figure out whether or not these characters will be around post-Secret Wars reboot. So let's kick things off with an easy one. The Fantastic Four, they are obviously sticking around. They are a main staple within Marvel, and they just got introduced. They'll likely be playing a large role in these upcoming movies, and I think Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards will be pushed as the next face of the MCU. Then another easy one is Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's not going anywhere for a while. We recently got the suit reveal and some set photos from Spider-Man Brand New Day, and then I think Marvel will likely want to finish his second trilogy, and then he'll probably play a pretty big role in Doomsday or Secret Wars. Now, moving on, we got Chris Hemsworth as Thor, who I think will be sticking around. I'm pretty sure Kevin Feige outright said that he wants to keep him playing Thor, and he's set to play a pretty big role in Doomsday. So assuming he doesn't die in the next two Avengers movies, I think we'll keep Thor through this reboot. Maybe we could even get Thor 5 in the future. That's up to speculation, but now let's move on to the Thunderbolts, who I see as a group with a more uncertain future. Now, don't get me wrong, they were great in their own movie, and they're set for pretty big things in Doomsday and probably Secret Wars too, but post-reboot, is there a spot for them? I just don't know. I mean, you're going to have the X-Men, you're going to have a well-established Fantastic Four, you're going to have some version of the Avengers, and eventually Tony Stark and Steve Rogers will be recast, and that's just what we know right now. There are going to be plenty of new characters introduced later on, so I think post-reboot, the days of the Thunderbolts being a main group within the MCU will probably be over. Don't get me wrong, they could definitely stick around, but they wouldn't be nearly as important. I mean, the reason why they're main faces of the MCU right now is because at the time of their movie, we had no other hero teams post-Endgame. Now we do have Fantastic Four, we're going to get Sam Wilson's Avengers, post-reboot we're getting the X-Men, and then probably a lot more characters. So while I do like the Thunderbolts, I think it's very possible they get left behind. Maybe we could keep Bucky or Yelena, but I don't know, I'm feeling like this group is sort of going to slowly fade away post-Secret Wars. So let me know what y'all are thinking, but moving on, we have Sam Wilson as Captain America. This one is very interesting because he's set for a huge next two movies as he's building his own Avengers team. And assuming he doesn't die in Doomsday or Secret Wars, I think they'd probably keep him post-reboot. I know him being Captain America isn't widely popular. His movie didn't do too well either. So honestly, maybe there is a world where Anthony Mackie gets lost in the reboot. This one's more of a 50-50 for me. I think it all depends on how soon you're recasting Steve Rogers, because we know that's coming eventually, but when, right? Like if he's recasted right after Secret Wars and he's going to play a big role in those first few projects, then I think the MCU may just move off of Sam Wilson as Captain America. But if this recast happens way later on, which I think is probably likely, then you could keep Anthony Mackie around. Only time will tell on this one. Let me know what y'all think. But what about Doctor Strange? In my opinion, so long as Benedict Cumberbatch wants to continue, I think he'll have a spot in the MCU for years to come. Doctor Strange is just such an important player within the multiverse, which is of course a huge thing in Marvel. It has been for years now, so I see him sticking around. But now let's talk about an interesting one, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. In my opinion, I just don't see him continuing on past Secret Wars. And that's nothing on Mark Ruffalo or his portrayal of the character. I just think they wrote this version of Hulk into a very weird position. As the MCU went on, they started giving us less and less Hulk until eventually they gave us Smart Hulk, which was kind of the nail in the coffin. Now, Mark Ruffalo is set to return in Spider-Man Brand New Day, and with Mr. Negative probably being the main villain, there's a chance he could corrupt Bruce Banner or Smart Hulk and bring back the Hulk we know and love and set him on a rampage. That's just a fan theory that's been floating around. It is entirely possible that Mark Ruffalo in Brand New Day is just going to be Bruce Banner, or maybe it's just going to be Smart Hulk. But look, this Spider-Man movie, Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Secret Wars all have the potential to fix Ruffalo's Hulk. So it's not a complete lost cause, but I think for the reboot, giving us a new Hulk would just be so much easier. You can forget about the mistakes of the past and just give us a fresh new Hulk, the way Hulk should be. But now let's move on to Hawkeye. One of the original 6 Avengers, he's been around forever. And look, I know there have been complications with his contract. I think Disney wanted a Hawkeye season 2, but they only offered him half of what he made for season 1. But if they can straighten out the financial side, I think Jeremy Renner wants to continue. I don't think his name was in the Avengers Doomsday chair announcement, but I'm sure he'll show up in that movie or Secret Wars. I don't know, I feel like you've already done the storyline of Hawkeye retiring like twice, and then he comes out of retirement, so unless you're ready to put him away for good, I say just keep Hawkeye around. But now let's pivot to Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. His last movie was a flop. I actually haven't seen it, but people hate it. But I'm assuming he's going to have the chance to shine in Doomsday or Secret Wars, as I'm guessing he's going to be on Sam Wilson's Avengers team. And like Doctor Strange, this is another character where I say if the actor wants to continue, just bring him back. Ant-Man has very unique powers. At this point, he's been around for a while. Maybe post-reboot, he wouldn't be playing such a big role anymore, but it is what it is. I'd still love to see Paul Rudd continue playing this character, and I think the chances are high that he stays through the reboot. But now let's talk about a newer character, Shang-Chi. His movie was one of the bright spots in the overall poorly received Phase 4. He's got some unique powers, and a lot of people have been wanting to see him again, so I think he's a no-brainer to keep through the reboot because he's still such a new character. His movie did come out 4 years ago now, and by the time Doomsday and Secret Wars are out, his movie will be 6 years old, and that may seem like a long time, but if you think about it, from the release of his movie up until now, we haven't seen him. He hasn't been in anything else, so he should be a relatively big player within Doomsday and Secret Wars, and even after that, there's still so much more you could do with Shang-Chi, so I think you have to keep him through the reboot. And then we got another pretty OG character, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I think he'll be surviving the reboot. Season 2 of Loki was only a couple of years ago, and with that type of ending, he's potentially going to be pretty important in Doomsday and maybe Secret Wars. Season 2 of Loki is also pretty beloved by the fans, and also with Kevin Feige wanting to keep Chris Hemsworth as Thor, by extension, you kind of need to keep Tom Hiddleston as Loki. It just wouldn't make sense to bring one but not the other. So yeah, Loki fans, I don't think y'all have anything to worry about. I don't think he's going anywhere. But now let's talk a bit about Shuri as Black Panther. I don't think she's surviving the reboot. I mean, I could definitely see a scenario where she does, but I'm leaning towards no. Like a lot of the characters that we've already talked about, she's probably going to have a pretty big role in Doomsday, but I think with a reboot, she may just get left behind. After all, this reboot is the perfect opportunity to recast T'Challa if you want to do that, or you could continue with the storyline of his son. Those are two pretty valid options that the reboot gives you. If they want to keep her around, I think that's completely fine, but I just feel like a new Black Panther for this new rebooted MCU would just fit better. But let me know your thoughts. Now, let's talk about a pretty fun one. Will Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom survive the MCU reboot? I'm leaning towards a pretty confident no. A lot of people think this casting was never going to be permanent, and a lot of people think that he's not even the final MCU Doctor Doom. And then look, we're talking about him surviving the reboot, but dude, we don't even know if he's going to survive his own movie. The Avengers may defeat him in Doomsday or Secret Wars, and in that case, of course, he can't survive the reboot because he's not alive. Then this rebooted MCU would probably introduce a new Doctor Doom with a different actor. So yeah, I mean, let me know your thoughts, but I just think there's no way this RDJ casting is long-term. It's a pretty confident no. Now, those are most of the main players within the MCU right now. It's possible I missed someone, so let me know in the comments. But really quickly, I did want to talk about some of the Daredevil characters. I think for the most part, all of these characters are safe. I don't think the soft reboot is really applying to any of them because they are in the MCU, but this whole Daredevil, Punisher, street level universe is kind of its own thing. I mean, season 2 of Born again is not even going to address the Void. So, I mean, it's pretty clear they're trying to keep this street level story as its own thing. They just brought it into the MCU so they could throw Daredevil into a Spider-Man movie, or recently so they could throw the Punisher into a Spider-Man movie. So yeah, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, John Bernthal, all of these actors are safe, and if any of these actors do get left behind, it's not going to be because of this soft reboot. It'll be because they're no longer needed within the Daredevil story, or they're retiring, or their character dies in the show, right? Like this MCU soft reboot, I don't think will affect Daredevil, Bullseye, Punisher, Kingpin, that whole street level world in the slightest. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. I know I left out a ton of characters, some pretty big ones like Wanda, and then a lot of the Disney Plus show characters. To be honest, I think most of the Disney Plus show characters are gone. There will be some survivors, but most of those shows came from an era in the MCU where they were just pumping out as much content as they could, and this soft reboot is the MCU actively trying to distance itself from that. So I think a lot of these characters are gone. But yeah, if I missed any important characters, let me know. Also, if you disagree with any of my decisions, please let me know. Regardless of what happens, I'm very excited for Doomsday, for Secret Wars, and the eventual soft reboot. Also, all the Spider-Man Brand New Day news, videos, pictures. I mean, dude, I can't wait for this movie. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what types of videos you want to see next, and I will see you in the next video.